cooperation, we would not be. The first night I came out, my whole intent was to say, fire door, fire door, fire door, and leave. I spoke for 15 minutes and never said that at all. So, you know I like to talk. Anyway, this is our first year. A year ago we started. First time that we got together as a group, put on Trifles last year. Here we are a year later, the end of our third production. In 2 more months it'll be the end of our 7th. So after The Collector comes Irma Bombeck, which we're doing in partnership with Harmony Bazaar. Then we are doing Vincent, which is Vincent van Gogh, a one-man show between he and his brother Theo, with the actor playing both parts, explaining Vincent's life. This is interesting for Lockport residents because it is starring Jeff Ball, who taught English at Lockport High in 1968, 69, something like that, for 3 or 4 years. The interesting part of that is he's directing his wife in Irma, and his wife is directing him in Vincent. So it's kind of like a coming home party for them, and they're really looking forward to being here in the next 2 months. Then we're doing a workshop production of a local piece called Vince. Kind of similar, 2 artists. One loses an ear, one keeps one. You can figure that out. But it basically is on how mental health and mental issues can influence the creativity of a person, and how sometimes great art comes out of moody people and not so great art comes out of sane people sometimes. I don't know what it goes. And then our last one is written by Dale, which is A Life Not Forgotten, and it's a very short piece, about half an hour, on living with Alzheimer's. And Dale called us up one day and said, "Can I come over and talk to you?" And we said yes, and we sat here, and she just performed this 22-minute piece, 25-minute piece that was just absolutely amazing. And I worked in healthcare all my life on Alzheimer units, so I immediately took a liking to it. And it's going to be such a pleasure for both Vince and An Alzheimer's Story to do them as workshop productions, where when you come to those shows, we'll give you a pad and a pencil and a cup of coffee, and we will read it. We will not act it, but it's a rehearsed reading, and then we will ask you to tear it apart. And our whole goal is to get community input into those 2 new works by local people, in the hopes that next year or the year after they may develop into full-time productions. So part of our goal as a community group is to do some local stuff with local people, bring in some people from away, as in small touring companies like Irma and Vincent, and then develop local artists, local writers, and really make the space as much of a community space as we can. We're extremely successful, basically because of your help. I mean, this is amazing. This is a really good crowd. This is what we've been averaging. We look at last year, we went for 3 nights. That's all we did last summer. This summer we're doing 18. Next summer maybe 24. We don't know. We are testing the market, we're testing the community, we're looking for support, and it has been overwhelming to this point, and we thank you. The first half of this show is 1 hour and 5, 1 hour and 10 maybe, then we take a 15-minute intermission, and then we perform for another half an hour. I will say that Helen Creighton collected over 5,000 songs. We will not be doing all 5,000 tonight. We will be doing a selected handful of those, but the interesting thing is, 6 productions of The Collector, no 6 productions are the same. In the last section, numbers change every night. Individual members of the group have prepared individual songs, and then when they come here at 6:30 for the warm-up, we pick 3 or 4 songs to include into the remaining set. So if you've been here before and you saw the show before, it's not the exact same show that you saw before. It's different every night. So enjoy the show, and they'll start in another minute or 2. Thank you.
Helen was all about community and saving it. She knew when she was collecting the songs and stories from rural Nova Scotians that they were disappearing, and she wanted to save them. Tonight's performance doesn't have a big budget, no grandiose set, The orchestration is limited to the instruments the cast can play. May not sound like much, but tonight's performance honors and contains the very spirit of Dr. Helen Creighton. Sometimes during rehearsals, when things are going good, the cast would stop and look around for a minute. And eventually someone would say, "That was Helen. Couldn't you feel her presence in the room?" Sometimes we could. And that's no ghost story. When John was working on the show and working daily with Helen, Helen would always say, "The collection. It's all about the collection. They don't need to know about me." And John's response would be, "True, but we wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for you. So just a little bit, maybe a wee tiny bit if I snuck it in, say like give you the last word." The response would always be community and collection. Well, Helen, tonight we're going to stick to that. We have a homegrown material performed by homegrown artists for a homegrown audience. Oh, if there's any come from a ways in the audience tonight, relax. Kick off your shoes, pull up a chair, and be sure to grab a coffee at intermission. Because tonight, we're going to celebrate community, Creighton, and collection. Oh, by the way, John does admit to breaking one promise. Dr. Helen Creighton, Canada's First Lady of Folklore, the keeper of the tales. She gets the first word.
The stories presented here this evening, and as they appear in my books, have not been added to, for a true ghost story is nearly always short. As they are, they raise many unanswered questions, but isn't that part of their mystery and charm?
They call her the collector, for she travels through the land, writing down the words and music from the mouths of common man. On the sheds of Shenabugto, from the hills of Marguerite, from the kitchens of Montague, she collects our history. Johnson took our line and pulled us out to sea. The morning sun next morning shone on 6th Grace in the gold. With the dog named Rover, made 7 hands all gold. He was the chum of a second mate for when his work was done. Instead of going forward, he would lie aft in the sun.
Miss Helen Creighton of Dartmouth, noted Canadian author, has been the weekend guest of Lieutenant Colonel and Mrs. E.K.E. Miss Creighton has spent the entire month at Fundy House and has roamed both the Fundy and Annapolis Basin shores. Of particular interest to her is a complete version of the song Corbett's Barkentine, written by Arch Swift of Annapolis Royal.
Favored us with a fair and gentle breeze, and like a thing endowed with life, she bounds across the waves. Old Scotty caught a dolphin, flies yellow, blue, and green. Its blood lies splattered on the deck of Corbett's Barkentine.
The George E. Corbett was built in Digby, Nova Scotia around 1875 for its namesake, an Annapolis merchant. The handsome Barkentine earned a reputation for speed during a successful career that ended when she was abandoned at sea in 1890.
And now we sight Nova Scotia shores with outstretched arms exclaim, like William Pelliot Craigs and Peeps and with you once again. And up along the Granville shore majestically we sail. We passed Goat Island on the lee, all through the wind and hail. And now we lie at anchor outside this gay old town. We run along St. George's, cross the Tory Reef and round. The people all remarking it is their only thing. There lies the Georgie Corbett, she's a handsome bargain.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Collector, a musical entertainment based on the life work of Nova Scotia's own Dr. Helen Creighton. I first met Helen when I was in my 40s. That was over 40 years ago.
Dr. Creighton is perhaps best known for collecting the Nova Scotia song.
Will you ever heave a sigh and a wish for me?
Something she did over 85 years ago. We'll get to that later.
In the Nova Scotia archives, there are over 5,000 songs collected by the lady from Evergreen, and just as many superstitions and ghost stories, legends, and lores. Been looking up at that house, eh? I wouldn't if I were you.
Why?
Why? Well, you must be strange to these parts. That's our ghost house. No one lives in it anymore.
How do you know it's haunted?
Just do. My father told me and his father him. I've been in that house. Heard that ghost knocking myself. Yep.
Really?
Just as sure as I'm standing here. Ferdinand lived in the front part. Seems he added it on after the ghost forced him out. No one lives in the old part anymore. That part was built from wood washed ashore from some wrecks. You know, if there's a sudden death around here, well, it's probably just one of those spirits come back, you know. You're from the city, right?
Right.
That explains why you don't know all the stories around here. There's plenty of them. All stranger than fact and truer than true. Would you like me to tell you one?
Could you?
Sure. Let me see now. A while back there was this farmer, you see. And every time he'd hire a new man to work on the farm, next morning he'd be dead. Well, one day this fellow named Jack comes along. He says to the farmer, "You looking for hiring a man?" The farmer says, "I'd like to, but it's no good to. For every time I takes on a new man, he's dead in the morning." Well, Jack says, "I'd like to give it a try anyway." Farmer says, "Suit yourself, but don't be calling the law on me if you're dead in the morning." Well, after a hard day working the land and mending some fences, it was time to go to bed for the night. And Jack was shown to his room. The same room that all the other men slept and died in. Only Jack didn't go to sleep. No, Jack built a little fire and he sat in a rocking chair with a big knife in his hand. Along about midnight, a tiny little cat came in and curled up in front of the fire. Well, the next thing there's 25 more all coming in through the keyhole. And the last one was a big one. And the big cat was surprised to see Jack still sitting up in the chair. And the cat said, "Why aren't you asleep?" Jack didn't say anything, he just smiled. The big cat said, "Pata!" That's Dutch for "kill him." Make sure you get that in there. Well, Jack pulls out his big knife and he cuts the paw right off that big old cat. And at that, all the other cats take off back through the keyhole. Jack goes over to pick up the paw. Only it's not a paw. It's a hand with a ring on it. Well, next morning, the farmer calls up to Jack. "Still alive, are you?" Jack yells back, "Yup," and left it at that. All through the day, the farmer's wife was sick, and eventually the doctor was called for. When he tried to take her pulse, haul her around, take her pulse, he wouldn't let him. She wouldn't let him. So finally, the farmer reached in and pulled her arm out, and when it came up from underneath her frock, you see the hand was missing. Well, Jack went up to his room, came down and he held up the hand. He said, "Whoever belongs to this hand tried to kill me last night." The farmer turned to his wife and said, "So you're the one that's been killing all my men." And he grabbed her, they dragged her outside, they built a big bonfire, and they burned her. she was nothing but a witch. Nothing but a witch.
And where did all of this take place, Mr. Hartland?
In Lunenburg. Happened to my grandfather, this. And he swore it was true to the day he died. You know, folks around here do more than just tell you stories. We'll sing you songs as well.
Would you be able to give me the names of the people who would be most likely to sing?
Can do better than that.
How?
I can sing you one myself. There's a song about leaving home. About leaving everything. Not an easy thing to do, you know. Come all ye old comrades, come now let us join. Come lift your sweet spirits in chorus with mine. For we'll laugh and be jolly while sorrow refrain. For we may or may never all meet here again. Fare you well, I have a sweetheart whom I truly love well. Within or with beauty, there's none to excel. For she'll laugh at my folly as she sat on my knee. There are few in this wide world more happier than we. Adieu, my old comrades, adieu and farewell. If ever I return again, there's no tongue can tell. So we'll trust to His mercy, who can sink or can save, and carry us safe o'er the wide swelling wave. Miss Creighton, this is my wife Jenny. Jenny is Miss Helen Creighton.
Hello.
Hello, Helen. How are you, dear?
Fine, thanks.
Wonderful. Helen, dear, this is a good friend of ours, Jim Hughes.
Hello.
Jim, this is Helen Creighton. Have a seat now, right over there, dear. Make yourself at home. There's no strangers here.
Put the tea on, will you, Jenny?
It's on, darling. Get your foot off the table, Enos. You need to make room for the biscuits.
Jenny, Miss Creighton here, well, she's interested in ghost stories.
Ghost stories, are ya? Well, you come to a grand place for that. We got a fine old gentleman sitting right over there that's a good old storyteller. Isn't he, Enos?
Sure is. How about a story from old Jim Muse and that fishing trip of his?
Worst scare I ever had in my life.
Old Jim took a little boy with him to help with the work.
Just thought I'd catch up with a little fishing.
Well, the boy did all the work.
Well, why not? I told him he could keep all the trout he could catch.
Well, if he had any time to catch any.
It wasn't a very big campsite he had to set up, eh, Jim?
Well, anyway, we went out as far as we could, and it began to get dark, so we turned our canoes towards shore. Getting a mite chilly too by then, you see.
By the time they brought everything in, it was time for the young boy to go to sleep.
Old Jim was tired from all that fishing.
Tired? Me? I could fish circles around you, Enos, and you too, for that matter.
It wasn't long, the young boy was snoring away.
The truth right. It weren't too long before old Jim was doing the same.
And that's when I heard the someone coming.
An animal or something?
Can't fool an old trapper like my daddy. I can tell the difference between human steps and that of an animal.
Then we got real close. Old Chicken Jim there woke the young boy up.
Well, wouldn't want anything to happen to the lad now, would I? Well, we could both hear the someone making just enough noise to keep us awake. But we didn't see anything till morning. And then, right there in front of us...
Was 2 neat feet sticking out of the ground.
2 big feet sticking up out of the ground. They belonged to this fellow named Blake, who had drowned and was buried there with his...
Feet sticking out of the ground.
Enos, who's telling this story?
Well, you are, Jim.
Well, let me tell it then. Well, when we realized there was a dead man right there beside us, we got out of there in a hurry. You know, I thought a lot about that there ghost. They say the dead don't come back unless they want something.
Well, it was a nice enough point of land to be buried on, but I guess maybe he didn't like the way his feet was sticking out.
Maybe old Jim should have stuck around long enough to tuck him in.
I wonder if old Blake ever did get that message across to anyone.
Don't know.
I knew a woman who could see a funeral before it took place, even sometimes before the person it took sick. She'd know whose funeral it was and what the hearse looked like. And she'd even know the names of the people following behind.
That's known as double vision, Miss Creighton. The folks that can see things before they happen are said to be double-sighted.
And then there's them that can look back and see things from the past.
And what's that called?
Behind sight.
It's hindsight, your arsehole. Oh, excuse me, Miss Creighton.
Well, whatever you call it, my grandmother had it.
Could you tell us about it, Jim?
Do you think you could stop them?
Well, back when my grandmother was a girl, she lived down Valley Way. Now, there were soldiers stationed at Port Royal in them days. Well, one night at a dance, she met this young fella. To make a long story short, they kind of took a liking to one another and agreed to meet in the morning. They was going to go horseback riding or something.
Telling your grandmother was the or something.
That's my kid you're talking about there, boy.
Oh, what boys! We've got company here. Never mind their foolishness, Miss Creighton.
Well, morning come, grandmother got up, got ready, waited for the young fella to call. Time went on and he didn't show. Now, my grandmother was getting a mite upset, but she waited, and eventually the young fella did call and told her this story.
It was quiet that night at the inn. Long about the wee small hours, I woke, certain there was someone scrabbling at my door. Now I bolted it tight enough, but didn't someone come through it? Right through it like it wasn't there. And another man come out from the wall opposite. They was dressed old-fashioned, tricorn hats and all. They met in the middle and bowed to each other. Oh, they were right gallant gentlemen. And they took off their hats, and they commenced to dueling. I was so scared I couldn't move. At length, one of them run t'other through. He pulled out the bloody blade and wiped it. I was feared he'd come for me next, so I shut my eyes tight. And the next thing I knew, it was late in the morning and the sun was shining in on the floor where the body lay. But there wasn't nothing there. There no sign there'd ever been nothing there.
When my grandmother heard this, she felt sure the young fellow was pulling her leg. Nothing he said could make her believe.
And?
That story's been told in our family ever since.
Well, how did they get into the room?
Don't know.
Was the door opened?
She said it was bolted.
What about sounds?
Didn't mention any. Oh yes, years later when they built the Royal Bank, they found the body of a man, dressed exactly like my grandmother's beau had described. You know, come to think of it, the inn where the young fellow had stayed was right near that spot.
Yo, I've got a story for you.
Come on over here and tell us.
Enos, you remember Dora?
Can't say I do right offhand.
Dora, Mr. Housewife.
That's right, Huffy's wife. Remember when they had that flat on Barrington Street and I had to stay over because of the weather?
The card players.
That's it, darling.
Yeah, tell her that one. You'll like this one, it's a good one.
Happened right here in Halifax it did.
That it did, Jim. That it did. Well, the The flat was nothing special, just 3 small rooms on the ground floor. Dora and Alex slept in one room and the young'un in the other. Now, because I was staying over for the night, I slept in with the young'un. Well, I couldn't have been asleep more than a couple of hours when I was awakened by the sound of bottles clinking. Then I heard knives slashing and men talking.
Where?
Right there in the room with me. I was too scared to call out.
Bet it was the worst scare you ever had in your life.
It sure was, you old buzzard. But after a few minutes, I decided to open my eyes again to have another peek. Right there in the room with me was 4 men. Oh, I remember one of them in particular. He was a big un with an oily look and a long mustache. He had a long knife with a silver blade.
You saw all of this with one look?
I saw all of that with one look.
You mean to say you saw all of that with just one peek?
Well, of course I did. After that, I closed my eyes and I prayed hard. All night I kept saying to myself, "You're not asleep. This ain't no dream." I was too scared to call out.
And no one else in the house heard any sounds?
Nope, not a sound. Well, I could tell by the way Dora and Alex acted the next morning. But I made a point never to stay in that house again. Nope, not at all. Oh, Enos, behave yourself. Come on, we've got company here. Be good tonight, would ya? Well, the building used to be a hotel. Now, Dora and Alex's room used to be a part of that hotel. What they would do is that one fellow would rent the room and he'd let the rest in through the window. And there they would talk and drink and play cards. Well, let me tell you something. Those games were not all gentlemen's games.
I heard a tale one time about a young fella not 16 years old got stabbed down in that place.
I heard that same story.
Maybe if you had kept your eyes open, you would have seen the stabbing.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, I think I saw enough.
Well, that was a wonderful story, Mrs. Hartland.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
It's all very mysterious.
Isn't it though?
Well, as much as I hate to do this, and especially after such a wonderful story, it is getting late, and I must be on my way.
All right. I do hope you come back another time, though, dear.
I would love to come back.
Yeah, come back anytime. We'd love to have you.
Actually, Mr. Hartland, could you do one thing for me before I leave?
Sure.
You know that song you were singing before? The one about the emigrants?
Oh, you must have liked that one, did you?
I wondered if you could sing it for me again before I leave. I'd like to get it down in my notes and take it home with me.
Can I string it with you, Enos?
If you think you can, you old fart.
I'll give it a try, Enos.
Stand up. Don't take the chair too far.
Come, all ye old comrades, come now, let us join. Come join your sweet voices in chorus with mine. For we'll laugh and be jolly while sorrow refrain. For we may or may never all meet here again.
It was lovely to meet you, Miss Creighton. Do travel safe. Have a good night, dear. Good night.
Have one more for the ride home?
Why not? Might as well be hanged for a sheep as a lamb.
another day. Oh, hey, another day.
Oh, Lukey's boat, oh, Lukey's boat,
Oh, Lukey's boat is painted green, Oh, Lukey's boat is painted green, it's the finest boat I ever seen, Aha-dee-doodle-I-day,
Aha-dee-doodle-I-day.
Oh, Lukey, he went down the shore, Oh, Lukey, he went down the shore to get some fish at Labrador, Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Aha-me-doodle-I-day. Oh, Lukey, he looked all around, Oh, Lukey, he looked all around. My wife is dead. The blinds are down. Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Oh, I says, Lukey, I don't care, Oh, I says, Lukey, I don't care. Find me another in the fall of the year. Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Aha-me-doodle-I-day. Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Excuse me, could someone tell me the way to the Boulevardier place?
Oh, sure, lady, just go down to the end of the road and holler.
Shelby, you played Helen in the first act. It's my turn to play her in the second. Fair's fair. Thank you very much. Pardon me? Could you show me the way to the Boulevardier place?
Sure, lady, just go down to the end of the road and holler.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Aha-me-doodle-I-day.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
My name is Helen Creighton, and I'm looking for the Boudelier's home. Would this be it?
Yes, it is.
Well, I've heard from friends down the road that people here are great singers of the old songs. I'm interested in writing them down before they're forgotten, and I was wondering if your husband might be able to sing some for me.
Oh, my goodness, you should have been here last night. We had a real sing.
Oh, it's a pity I missed it.
Yes.
Do you think I could get him to sing some for me now?
Well, why don't you come in and ask him yourself?
Thank you.
You're welcome, right this way.
Hello, I'm Helen Creighton.
Hello, Miss Creighton. Please sit down.
Did she tell you what she came for, Lloyd?
I bet you she's looking for a husband.
Oh, my. Oh, listen.
It's quite all right, Mrs. Boudelier. As a woman who travels alone, I'm used to encountering such natural assumptions. I'm collecting songs to put in a book, and I'd like you to help me.
Me?
Yes, I hear that you're a great singer of the old songs.
Oh, he is. Lloyd here was a great singer in his day. You know, he could sing all day and all night, well into the next day, and he'd never sing the same song twice.
Well, I don't think I can help you. My voice is kind of rusty and my teeth are all gone.
Now, Lloyd, you were singing last night and you weren't sounding too bad.
All right, give it a try.
Wonderful.
Where do we start?
Just as soon as I get this machine set up, Mr. Boudelier. Yes.
I have to sing into that?
Well, that way we can hear it back.
Hear my own voice? What will they think of next? But I don't think I can do it.
Well, why not?
And my voice is kind of rusty.
Well, would you like to hear someone else first?
Sure. Ooh,
All right, Nathaniel D'Entremont, from up Pubnico ways.
okay.
Singing an old song. Listen.
They are green and the trees they are tall. All those happy summer days are all past and gone. Here I am left on the coldest winter's day. He is young, but his day we are a growing.
It's a fine song, but it's not sung right.
You know another way?
I know the right way. Would you like me to sing it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The leaves they are green and the trees they are tall. All these happy summer days are all past and gone. Here I am left on the coldest winter day. He is young but daily is a growing. You like the way I sing it?
Oh, yes, very much.
Would you like me to finish it?
Oh, please.
Oh, Father, dear Father, you have done me much wrong, for you have married me to a boy that's too young. For I am twice 12 and he's only 13. He is young, but daily is a growing. Oh, daughter, dear daughter, I have done you no wrong, for I have married you to a rich farmer's son. And if you do love him, he'll be your lord and king. He is young, but daily is a growing. At the age of 13, a married man was he. At the age of 14, his oldest son was born. At the age of 15, o'er his grave the grass grows green. And that has put an end to his growing.
Very good, Mr.
Oh, Helen, you should come at Christmas. Really. That's when we get all the good songs and plenty of them, don't we, Lloyd?
We sing from Christmas to New Year's. There's lots of good food, lots of good music, lots of good company.
You wouldn't catch me singing to that thing.
Was that Sid?
You wouldn't catch me singing to that thing.
Well, you don't have to, but you'd like to hear your old friend, wouldn't you?
What?
Oh, Miss Creighton, you'll have to speak a little louder. Lloyd's pa here, he's getting a little deaf.
Your friend, John LeBlanc. You'd like to hear him sing, wouldn't you?
On that thing?
Well, yes, he sang for me yesterday. Here, listen to this. Mrs. Boudelier, would you please press the blue button marked play? It's just right up on the left there, above the spools.
Jimmy went hunting with his dog and his gun. He hunted all day till the night it came on. By a great grand big round her, and I took her for a swan. And I shot Molly Laura by the setting of the sun.
Well, you don't want to let John LeBlanc get ahead of you, do you?
Can't sing. I'm too old.
Well, I can see where you get your shyness from, Mr. Boudelier. Come on, just one song. Just to let John LeBlanc know he can't get ahead of you.
Can't. Bat's got me throat.
All right then. We'll just put this away, Mr. Boudelier.
Well, not so quick. Why, you have a way with you. You could bewitch the devil, you. Here. I'll sing you a song from me youth.
Wonderful.
Once I was a lady's charmer, but I'm unhappy now. For courting such girls all at once, to serve me anyhow. Ma said it was wicked, but I laughed at her advice. I knew it was real naughty, but also very nice. First I fell in love with Mary Ann, and then with Mary Jane, then with lovely Miss McKay, and then with Kitty Payne, then with Betty Hopkins, and then with Nellie Small. And I can say I found a way to hug and kiss them all. This lasted for a week or two. I thought it perfect bliss. For every night I went to town, I had fresh lips to kiss. I thought it would last forever, that I would never be sold. I was so very clever in the charmers that I told. But then, oh dear, the names got mixed, and at their garden gate, I said goodnight to Nellie, and I called her Darling Kate. I wrote a note to Mary Ann, and I called her Mary Jane. And to make the matter even worse, I addressed it to Kitty Payne. I never shall forget the night I met that blessed six. They said, now you must pay for all your dirty tricks. So Mary Ann, she tore me hair, and Mary Jane me coat. And lovely Miss McKay brought a young man who took me by the throat. And as for Betty Hopkins, she smothered me with mud and bashed my head till it was flat against the garden wall.
Well, you can't stop there.
I have to. Can't remember the rest. Not of that verse. Do you remember any of it, Lloyd?
Can't say I do, Pa.
Oh, hold on now, there's another verse though. And I remember it,
Oh, well, could you sing it?
if you want me to.
Yes.
Maybe I'll remember the part I forgot later on.
Well, if you do, we'll go back and fill it in.
So Monday I left Mary Ann, on Tuesday Mary Jane, on Wednesday lovely Miss McKay, Thursday Kitty Payne, on Friday Betty Hopkins, and Saturday Nellie Small. Now that's the reason why I'm left without a girl at all.
And what was the name of that song, Mr. Boudelier?
6 girls.
And whose 6 girls were they, Sid?
Well, mine, of course.
So it really was about you, Mr. Boudelier?
Well, it could have been.
Sure it could, Sid. You was a right fine-looking gentleman in your day. That's why I married your son, you know. Keep all those good looks right in the family. And all that good singing, too. Now, Helen, if you want to hear some good music, you should get Lloyd here to play for you. He's the best damn fiddle player in these parts. Come on, Sydney, help me move the table, would you? Come in, whole party! Come in, it's good to see you all. Come in, darling, come in. It's good to see you. So good to see you. Come in.
When Helen was recording Mr. Boudelier, he usually had a lot of chewing tobacco in his cheek and a grand tour kid on his knee. And he'd sing with eyes looking straight ahead. He commanded such respect, and he got it. Friends would enter the house without knocking, and they'd slip noiselessly to their places so he wouldn't be disturbed. And even after 20 years, Helen seldom called on Mr. Boudelier without finding that he remembered another song since her last visit.
It is so good to have company and music and friends and dancing. Every time we do it, Lloyd, I miss your mother. How she loved it. Could we sing that song? You know, the one she liked so much about the son that left and went to Australia.
On the banks of the Clyde.
That's it.
All
Could
right.
we sing that? Okay, let's do that.
In youth I craved adventure, to Australia I did stray. I left my home and mother,
There once was an old man and he had but one cow, and how that he lost her he couldn't tell how. For white was her forehead and slick was her tail, and I thought me poor Drimmin down never would fail. Eagle sold roll Drimmin down, ho roll ha. Sold roll Drimmin down, nearly you gra. Sold roll Drimmin down, a ha me down. Me poor Drimmin down, needless go chaya go slanty gash. So roll Drimmin down, ho roll ha. Bad luck to you, Drimmin, and why did you die? Why did you leave me for water for wine? I'd sooner lose Patter, me own bucking bond, than you, my poor Drimmin down, now that you're gone. Eagle sold roll Drimmin down, ho roll ha. Sold roll Drimmin down, nearly you gra. Sold roll Drimmin down, a ha me down. Me poor Drimmin down, needless go chaya go slanty gash. So roll Drimmin down, ho roll ha.
It's a lament for a dead cow, and the chorus is in Irish Gaelic. Helen collected it from a man by the name of Mr. Ernest Selleck sometime in early 1956. As the song goes, he would rather it had been his wife that drowned in his cow.
When I was young, a long time ago,
Thank you. When I was young, a long time ago, I often wrote stories for children. There were stories I wrote for my nieces and nephews, and some that I published in books and magazines. And then there were some which I broadcast in the early days of radio. Radio was a novelty in those days. As I listened to the director of CHNS Halifax talking to the children over the airways, I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to have a program of bedtime stories for children? And so, in 1926, I became the first station aunt in Halifax. It was in all of Canada. And we were probably the first program to have children on the air. They would come on the show and sing songs and recite poems from Mother Goose or other songs, other books. The children I knew often gave me ideas for stories or poems. Something they said, something they did. My niece Lois was a particularly happy child. She had such a lively imagination, I never knew what she would say next. Those children, who in a way helped me write the stories, have asked me many times over the years to have them published. I wonder, would the children of today be interested in stories written so long ago when our lives are so very different? I don't know. Things were very different then.
Not every song or story Helen collected was about love, unrequited or otherwise, or even about ghostly appearances. There were many serious ones about events that changed the lives of Nova Scotians forever. The Halifax explosion, the largest man-made explosion prior to Hiroshima. In her autobiography, A Life in Folklore, Helen described just how the explosion affected her.
December 6, 1917, I awoke at what seemed to be a heavy blast. I looked off to the northwest and saw a great fireball in the sky. Then came the most terrific explosion. I wondered, was it my guardian angel or the sixth sense I inherited with the call at my birth that made me duck? Because the glass from 4 windows and the plaster from the ceiling rained down on me. And the window casing with the nails pointed downward embedded itself in the pillow my head had been resting.
She rumble. And cannons, they have their roar. But this was worse than even those, multiplied by 4. The houses, they were crushed like paper, and the people were killed like flies. And the coroner's record tells us that the total was 1,200 lives. It was on the 6th of December, 1917, that Halifax suffered disaster, the worst she'd ever seen. It was 5 minutes after, as those still alive can tell, that the beautiful city of Halifax was just given a taste of hell.
What a moving song that is. It brings back memories, none of them pleasant. After the blizzard, which followed the explosion, I crossed over to Halifax to see if there was anything I could do to help. The buildings that still stood, and there were some, were damaged. But for the most part, what remained was snow-covered piles of rubble, some of it still smoldering. Such devastation. It would be a decade before I began my life's work, but that was one of the first songs I ever collected, and the only purely contemporary one. In 1932, I published folk songs and ballads from Nova Scotia. It was first of a string of books, but I have to say that traveling around looking for songs and stories and meeting the people who would share them with me was every bit as rewarding as the books themselves. In 1950, Folklore from Lunenburg County and Traditional Songs from Nova Scotia came out. The next year it was Blue Nose Goats. In the decade that followed, I brought out Maritime folk songs, Gaelic songs in Nova Scotia, and Blue Nose Magic. Then you could say I broadened my horizon in the 1970s with folk songs of southern New Brunswick and my autobiography. You know, I never tried to tally up the number of miles I must have traveled in those years. I wonder, would it have been enough to go around the globe once? Maybe even twice. So many songs, so many stories, so many friends. I have been blessed.
You know, collecting still goes on today. Here's a story from Danny Hopkins of Lockport about his visit to the Horace and Amy Smith homestead in Allendale, just a few miles east of here. Horace worked for the railway and he ran the train station at Allendale. His wife, Miss Amy, was a great organist and she played at many social functions in the area and also at the Lockport Baptist Church for a time. After Horace and Amy passed away, the house became vacant, and over the years, it fell into a state of sad disrepair.
Even though the house was deteriorating, I knew that there was a large pipe organ that used to belong to the Lockport Baptist Church still inside. One day I decided to go check out the organ. So I got my digital camera ready, I loaded in freshly recharged batteries, and off I went. When I got there, I parked on some gravel in front of a little garage someone had built on in earlier times. Then I proceeded through briars and other overgrown vegetation to the rear of the house. And I entered through the rear door. And upon entering, immediately I got a sense that something wasn't quite right in here. So I prayed for a moment. Then I went to the back room where the organ was. And something still didn't feel quite right. And when I turned on my camera, all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. It sounded like a train was running right through the building, or a herd of wild animals somehow had gotten loose and stampeding through the building. I couldn't tell where the sound was coming from. The sound was coming from everywhere at once. I started to freak out. When I took my camera up to take a picture, I could see the battery life was draining fast, and I could just get one picture before the camera shut itself off. Well, I got out of there in a hurry. When I got home, I thought about the experience I just had at that house. I took the one picture that I had taken and loaded on my computer, and then I viewed it. In that picture was two orbs. And when I zoomed in on them, one orb had two faces in it. The first face looked like a cherub or an angel. And right behind it was a face that looked like a fox or a rat. I don't know what happened in that house to make it haunted or whatever it was. But something strange sure happened there. It was like that cherub or angel was trying to protect me from evil. You know, I never told very many people this story. Just a few close friends and some family. Until now. And I don't know why the last owners start to repair the house and then stop so abruptly. Sad to see that house in such a sad state.
Miss Amy was the most wonderful woman. She was kind and selfless, loving and giving. And she told the most amazing stories of her husband's work at the train station and of ferry rides between Allendale and Rockland. Oh, and of the time that she and her sister tried to make homemade bread. But the dough wouldn't rise. So they waited and waited. Dough wouldn't rise. They knew they'd get into trouble for wasting expensive ingredients. So they had to get rid of the evidence. So they fed the raw dough to the cow. The evidence was gone, but when the dough hit the warm stomach of the cow, it activated the yeast, and the dough began to rise. And it rose, and it rose, and it killed the cow. Can you imagine that?
Whoa, 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 whoa. No, not again, not another dead cow. I mean, what is it with you people and your fixation on dead cows? It's insane.
I find it very hard to believe that there would be evil in Miss Amy's house. She loved that old pipe organ, and every time children would come to visit, she would play it for them.
You know, it is sad, the condition of that house. And again, every time I drive by it and look up at it, it's a shame to see it looking so sad.
Do you suppose it misses Miss Amy and all the beautiful music?
Do 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 do
Excuse me, are there words to that song?
Yes, there is.
Could you sing it for me, please?
Sure. Farewell to Nova Scotia, the sea-bound coast. Let your mountains dark and drear I be. For when I'm far away on that briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me?
And that's how she found it, in a small fishing cove on Nova Scotia's eastern shore. That simple melody, so beautifully rendered by a fisherman in 1933, would take another 30 years to be rediscovered and finally recorded by Catherine McKinnon on the TV program Sing Along Jubilee.
12th of December, 1989. Miss Helen Creighton, the woman who returned huge volumes of Nova Scotia's traditional folklore to the people, died this afternoon at the age of 90.
Helen Creighton was the recipient of 6 honorary doctorates and a member of the Order of Canada.
Within hours of Creighton's death, Provincial Tourism and Cultural Minister Roland Thornhill delivered a tribute to the Daily News. It read in part, Dr. Helen Creighton's recollection and honoring of our heritage, and our conservation of the stories and songs on Nova Scotia is the most appropriate monument to her character and determination.
Writing down the words and music from the mouths of common men.
Catherine? Catherine, don't leave the studios. Something went wrong. There's a glitch in the tape. I don't know. We're going to have to do it over again.
All right, Jeff.
All right, one more time. Here we go. Sing Along Jubilee, show number 27, Farewell to Nova Scotia, take number 17, Catherine McKinnon.
Everybody sing with us.
showed you how Dr. Creighton went around collecting the songs and stories from some of our ancestors. And we sang some of those songs and we told you some of the stories. We're going to take a 15-minute break so you folks can stretch your legs and get a coffee. We can dunk our heads in a bucket of cold water back there and cool down. We're going to come back and we're going to tell you some more stuff about Dr. Creighton, and we're going to sing you some of her songs. See you in 15.
Lights off to drop the temperature during the intermission. The first half was the formal part of the evening, which is more storytelling and explaining how, as George said. This second half is more like a kitchen party, just celebrating the material. It's much freer. The cast may even walk up and down the audience. There's no blocking to it. They move wherever they want to move. We staged it deliberately that way so that we could celebrate the material. Some additional facts that I'd like to tell you, share with you about Helen, because they're not in the storyline, is she was a purist. That was it. Folk music was from the people, for the people, by the people, of the people. And if it didn't come out of the lumber camps, if it didn't come off the shipping vessels, if it didn't come out of the mines, then it wasn't a folk song. In the 1960s, she did not take kindly to the times they were a-changing. She did not like Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Kingsmen, the Seekers, Bob Dylan. She didn't like any of that, because she didn't treat that as folk music. That was not of the people. That was in the folk vein for profit, and she wanted none of it. She gets criticized now, 20 and 30 years later, as being too much of a purist. But if it wasn't for her contribution, there would be no degree in folklore in this province. If you laugh at the tape recorder, she had one of the very first tape recorders in all of Canada, given to her by the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian in Washington realized the importance of saving this material. Canada did not. And they supported her in the release of albums that contained the original singers, and you heard some of those tonight. So to go into somebody's house when recording was so brand new was certainly the work of the devil. Some people opened their doors, some not so much. The good thing for me is Helen had 4 boys. We adored her. We followed her around like a bunch of puppies. And she entrusted in each and every one of us something different about her lifespan. I was lucky enough to get permission to write the play that you saw tonight. Clary Croft got permission to catalog the 5,000 songs in pans and to record numerous songs from the Creighton collection. Scott McMillan got permission to orchestrate all the material for the symphony, and Glenn Walton got permission to do the film. Sigh and a Wish, or whatever it is, yeah. So we all had our different areas that surrounded Helen, and we really liked celebrating her material with her. She's been gone 30 years now, but the one thing that she realized, and which modern culture does not, she knew in 1960 that there were fewer old songs. She knew there were even fewer old men who sang old songs. And she knew if she did not get them down on paper, they would be gone forever. When you think of the modern pop song, well, let's just say she came in like a wrecking ball, will not be sung 15 years from now. They belong to now. And there's that phrase, to belong to one's own time is already to be out of date. Well, these songs have been floating around the province for over 200 years. The problem is, young singers don't sing them because they're too old-fashioned. So it gave us great pleasure to celebrate this collection with you tonight. The last tie-in, as you know, the Osborne Baptist Church closed its physical doors on December 31st, 2017. Their last service was on New Year's Eve. Doors are closed, mission continues. And as we're going to do in one of our tribute hymns tonight, there is no mansion here below. You don't necessarily need a building to spread the word. We thank the Osborne Church for 200 years of service to this community. That's why the sign is up there tonight. And the opening part of this second section are 4 spirituals collected by Helen on what I call the Follow the Nova Scotia Tartan Road. They reflect all the religious denominations in the province, and they reflect all of the cultures in the province. There are songs from First Nations, there are songs from the Black culture. It was very important that Helen collect from everybody. So if you went back and you saw the first act again, we mentioned Parsborough for a reason. We mentioned Lunenburg for a reason. We want to get in the German tradition in the province. We want to get in the Acadian tradition. We want to get in the Scottish, the English, the Irish, the French. We are, if anything, you know, I don't want to say the birthplace of multiculturalism, but our province certainly celebrates it. And we are certainly made up of a wide variety of peoples, cultures, and religious denominations. And the Creighton collection reflects that without pointing it out as much as I just did. It's much more subtle. Anyway, enjoy the second half of the show.
Jesus done
our tribute to Osborne Baptist Church is one that Helen collected from the black community in Cherrybrook, Nova Scotia. It's an old hymn, and some of you may know it, and if you do, sing it. It's a good song.
Just don't trip over the roll.
I'll try.
Now, I'm not talking about the kind of call that priests have, religious calling. This is a C-A-U-L call, which is a membrane which is born, some people are born with over their face. And for some reason, this is considered to be good luck. And the only reason I can think that it would be good luck is that you survive being born with this thing over your face. But since time immemorial, people have considered it good luck, and they've saved it. And the child might have worn it in a little, like a totem bag that they would, a little bag that they would have around their neck, or some way or other keep it. Helen Creighton was asked once if this person could see it. She said, "Oh, no, that would destroy his luck." So obviously, there are certain traditions with this. She also, if you probably didn't hear what I said when I was being Helen, that she was attributing her sixth sense that made her duck to the call which she had at birth. That's what this is about. So it's supposed to give you sixth sense. And the third thing is it's supposed to be that you'll never drown if you were born with a call. And one of the folk stories she collected was from Jordan Falls, I believe it was, a fisherman who was born with a call. And he was scheduled to go out on a fishing trip. And he went down to the wharf to find his kind. When he got on the boat, he said, "I don't think so." And he didn't go on that trip. And that boat was lost with all hands. So it seems to work. I wish I could tell you what percentage of babies are born with a call. Maybe I'll find that out before Saturday anyway, but that's what I know about a call.
Okay, who took my sticks?
The youngins come home.
I got a drink. Somebody. Will you drink with me?
You want the grateful ones?
Ready?
Yep.
There was a lady lived in York, all lonely and lonely, oh, she fell in love with her father's son, down by the Greenwood side-o. She left him up, she left him down, all lonely and lonely, oh, she loved him till he filled her arms, down by the Greenwood side-o. She leaned her back against an old, all lonely and lonely, oh, first it bent and then it broke, down by the Greenwood side-o. She leaned her back against the door, all lonely and lonely, oh, there she had to find a thorn, down by the Greenwood side-o. She took out her wee penknife, all lonely and lonely, oh, there she took the sweet babe's life, down by the Greenwood side-o. She rubbed the blade against her shoe, all lonely and lonely, oh, the more she rubbed the rabbit grew, down by the Greenwood side-o. She went back to her father's hall, all lonely and lonely, oh, saw 2 days of rain and ball, down by the Greenwood side-o. Oh, babes, if you were mine, all lonely and lonely, oh, I'd dress you up in scarlet fine, down by the Greenwood side-o. Oh, mother, when we were yours, all lonely and lonely, oh, scarlet was our own heart's blood, down by the Greenwood side-o. Oh, babes, it's heaven for you, all lonely and lonely, oh, mother, it's hell for you, down by the Greenwood side-o. Down by the Greenwood side-o.
All right, let's do it.
Big breath.
My name is Bellefontaine, Fontaine, Fontaine. I am a Frenchman, and from Chesapeake I came. It was in the month of June when the gully was a blue. We used to sing the lyrics because there's going to be a little bit of a test and you can win a prize. 2 lucky viewers will win an incredible, where are they? Here we go. Limited edition hand-painted shell from this very production, The Collector. So pay attention, you may win. All right. Yes, please. He's very good at winding me up this one. All right. Do you want to buy the bit, the song, the frog, the juniper, the mussel, the clam, the blueberry, the huckleberry, the huckleberry, the cranberry, the salad, the buttercup, the trout, the sand? Woo! Woo! I think that was a little faster than double time, man. But here's what we'll do. We'll see if anybody caught it. If you can remember 4 of the items that I listed in that song, raise your hand, and I'll call upon you. Tell me what they are, and if you've got it, you get a shell. 2 people can do this. All right.
Juniper, mint, mussel, clam.
Juniper.
Mint, mussel, clam.
Very
Well, I think
close.
she's pretty good.
Very close.
As fast as you're looking, don't you?
See, that is really close.
It
That's
is.
kind of like the jumping frog.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's close enough.
All right.
Mint, it's a mint, but mint is very close.
Yes. So we're going to say yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is for you, my dear. Thank you. You're welcome. Do I have one more taker? I can give away one more shell.
Anybody else?
Would you like me to sing it again? Maybe a
Yeah.
little more slowly. Okay, we'll try that, all right?
So we're gonna unwind it. Hold on.
Unwind. Okay. All right.
Close enough.
All right. Do you want to buy the mint, the salt, the gansy pot, the juniper puffs, the mussel, or the clam, the blueberry, the huckleberry, the cranberry, the salt, the pelt, the 40-foot water, the treble, the pip, or the sand? Oh yes.
The mint, the sock, the mussel, and the clam.
Very good. Wonderful.
These shells, by the way,
Yes.
are lovely.
Aren't
And
they?
they're- Yes, and they're done by Lockport Shells.
Yes.
So we need to have a big shout out to Eva and Wendy. They paint these shells and they leave them on the beach and all around in very special places, and people pick them up. They've had them go all over the world. So the best thing you could do if you get a shell is to go on their site and tell them where you got the shell and where it's bound. So that would be really good. They're awesome shells, aren't they?
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. You ready, Elizabeth? Oh, it's Ben.
Let me tell you a little about Helen's family. The Creighton surname is very old. As a matter of fact, when Edward Cornwallis sailed into Halifax Harbour in 1749, there was a Creighton aboard, Helen's ancestor James. Now, it seems he was a spirited youth, for legend has it he was the first one ashore. James's land grant in the new town of Halifax was a wooded, hilly, useless piece of land, later known as Citadel Hill. He soon exchanged it for something far more practical, $35, 2 houses, and a cow.
Another cow?
This one was alive. James's daughter Lucy married a Captain Thomas Maynard, which accounts for the names of 2 streets at the base of Citadel Hill today, Maynard and Creighton. I think that's enough history.
I once knew a maiden so rare, fell in love with a sailor, a real sailor boy. He called
gonna do it right tonight? That means I gotta sing it wrong too?
Yeah.
Good enough, let's let it rip. Carrying crow sat on an oak tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Watching the tailor mend her cloak tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Fetch me an arrow and my bow tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. And I'll shoot that carrion crow tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. The tailor shot and missed his mark tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. He shot the old sow through the heart tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Fetch me some lasses on a spoon tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. I'll mend the old sow's wound tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. The old sow, she is dead and gone tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Now her little ones will wander on tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. Hold on a second. Hold on a second, folks.
I didn't do it right.
Yeah, you did.
I'm not doing it again.
Here, I'll give you, let me see. Here, have a quarter. You get nickel. Oh, that's only a nickel. I'm lying. But backstage, when I'm running through these lines, because you gotta be fresh when you come out here. A couple smart aleck youngins. They know the words. They think they know better than me. They probably do. And after listening to Door, I know one of them sing better than me. But they make fun of me. So girls, payback time. Come here. What do you think? Right up here. Now just pretend you're backstage making fun of old Bubba and sing. Ready? You ready, Maestro? We'll just do the chorus. Ready? Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo. You don't see me doing you stand over here. No, not up on there. You stand there. Don't step on Elizabeth's feet. You shove over that way. And you can do what I can do. I might be 110-year-old, but I can do it. Ready, Maestro? Sing with me, girls. Kikimiro, kitty, come Kiro, Kikimiro, Kimo. Bop, 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 biddy dum dee tonight, come kitty, come Kimo.
Helen was ahead of her time. She was born at the turn of the 19th century. And in those days, it was expected that girls would grow up and marry, start a family, have their own home. In the absence of that, then, they would live with their parents, and they would hire out to do domestic work for other people, and then engage in the social scene. Well, the former never happened for Helen. She never married. And the latter just never appealed to her as a way of life. So she set out to find a place, in her own words, where she could be useful. So for a woman of her day, that was a pretty gutsy move, and we're glad she did that. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes we have favorites, you know.
As I was going over the Farmingary Mountains, I met the Captain Bear. He was down. I first produced my pistol, and then produced my rapier, and then all the scene. We're going to do a song that's not actually in Helen's collection. We think if she was around, she'd probably collect this one. There's lots of good songwriters still, or people that are singing folk songs. And this one's written by Jim Bennett, and we thought she'd like it. We like it. It's called Black Rum and Blueberry Pie. And if you don't, please join in. Right in.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
What is she up to?
Hang on to that.
You never know what a piano player might hide in her bench.
Just a little peek. No.
We're living in the
Hope you got your money for us, but we're not gonna give you a refund if you did. Tomorrow night's our last run, kick at the can for this show. We appreciate it if you tell your friends, if you have any, tell all your enemies, we all get some later. Let's pack the house up tomorrow night. Drive safe, thanks for coming.